Hey everybody, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge back in Barnyard Studios, Central Texas. Still building my boat, doing farm life in general after the scamdemic pandemic episode we've all been living through. So today's topic is about tithing. Somebody had asked me if we have a tithing practice in shamanism, and the answer is yes. For those of you that are unfamiliar with that term or the practice, tithing, T-I-T-H-I-N-G, is when you're giving away a portion of your income towards a cause, a spiritual group, a charity, but basically you're giving away, a percentage of what you're bringing in. And people say, well, why would you do that? It's kind of like the old pump wells, like when I was a kid in my grandfather's house in West Virginia. They had one of these iron pumps, it was about 3 foot tall, long handle. You'd have to pour water in the top of it as somebody was pumping the handle to prime the pump, and then it would pump water up out of the well. And once you stopped pumping, the water stopped flowing. You had to reprime it, come in there, and that's pretty much the way, let's call it the magic of prosperity, works. So what people were doing for ancient times is saying, okay, well, I have this money, I have this yield from the crops, I'll give it away, to please the gods, to help the community, whatever it was. And each culture had a different way of explaining how and why it worked. But one thing they did universally, they all agreed it was a great practice. It kept your prosperity moving. And some of your richest families of throughout the world will still do some type of tithing to charities and so on. How does it work in shamanism? Same way. And I've had people give large amounts towards projects I was working on for tax breaks, donations, or, some people do it when they start a job and they get a sign-on bonus. They'll give it towards things that I'm doing. And I tell people they have the option of what they want it to go to. So some of the options are like, the boat. That's going to be towards shamanic work and environmental work. People give money and say, well, I'd like to go to like training apprentices in shamanism. I'd like to have this go towards your boat. And some people say, well, use it for whatever does well. Okay, that's fine too. Some people want updates of what was bought with that money and how it was applied. I can do that too, And it lets them, and the interesting part about that is then they can see how it reciprocates onto their life. People ask me, do I do it? And yes, because people will invite me to areas of where I'll go do my workshops, lectures, ceremonies, and so on. And I don't go to any place I'm not invited to. I don't try to I think I'll try this place for a marketer. I don't do that. People invite me in. And when people set everything up, I'll give my promoters 50% of what would come in. And that usually helps them and their families a lot. Whereas a lot of promoters, will take like 20 to 30%. If I'm just working on a job and I'm getting commissioned to do a shamanic project, like a geomancy project, or help do something create some kind of a retreat or a refuge, something like that for herd animals, then I'll take 10% at a minimum of what I bring in that week or that month, and I'll give that into other projects, depending on what comes to me that looks like that's the biggest need. Or I'll have it just sitting around and just okay, well, I have this I want to give out. Does anybody have a project that they could suggest? And I do that. And that's always worked for me, And I started doing that in my probably mid-teens when I first started working, 14, 15 years old. I went right in there because a lot of the old guys I worked with on construction sites, they were like, oh man, you got to tithe, Of course, they wanted me to give it to their church, and I kind of had an aversion to churches, and so I was like, no. So I went into environmental groups, and that really started me off on my environmentalism, back in my early teens, and then I learned the politics about that and decided not to do that anymore. So, in short, when I'm traveling and working in a shamanic capacity, then I can fund all my own projects, and then I give tithing to other people's projects. But during the last, almost 3 years now, I haven't been able to travel and work. But then other people have been doing their tithing towards me to help with the boat and then the other things that I'm doing in a shamanic capacity. So the short answer is yes, it works, absolutely. I have examples like I described of how I think it works. And do I have any scientific proof and data? Nope. I don't even know how to begin to get that. But just in life experiences. And when I've told other people about it, they said, yeah, you're right, it works. Can't figure out why, but thank you. And like, so yeah. If you'd like to tithe toward my environmental shamanic project, you can hit me at PayPal at Shaman Hawk, and I'll get that and give you a thank you. I know a lot of people don't want any public recognition for that, and I understand. On new moons, I make it a conscious effort, kind of ceremoniously, to go through all the names of the people who have given me something for that month, and to really ask, specifically each person that they get the things that they'd like to have happen in their life. Or if I know what's going on in their life, I kind of ask the spirit world or the shamanic flow to help with those issues, to help them in their career goals, personal goals, get over things, grief issues, loss of loved ones and families, and sickness and so on. So that's my thing, and that'll be happening with me tomorrow. And now that the burn ban is lifted, I can go back to doing my fire ceremonies at my ceremonial place here on the farm. And so that's my part also with giving back into that. To me, it's like adding that third piece. The first one, like the person is making the money, whether it's me or someone else, whether I'm giving it out to something or someone's giving it to me, and then the acknowledgement of the people, and so on. So the other part, if I'm giving it out, then the other thing that I do is I think of the person that I gave it to or the project I gave it to, and then I'm asking the shamanic flow or spirit world, please help these people get more, not just from me, but from other people giving towards their projects. One young lady had said that, yes, she sees it as an altar. And so when she donates to my boat project, she looks at, and she was so cute. She asked me, can I use your boat as an altar, even though we've never met? It's only on pictures. Yeah, sure. But what do you mean? She loves the sea. She loves to swim. She loves saving dolphins, environmentalism. She goes, if I donate to your boat, I want it to also help my life so I can go back into that kind of lifestyle. I'm like, oh, that's perfect. Makes perfect sense. So, use my boat as your altar to manifest the things that you want and so on. And please give feedback, because as long as I've been doing shamanism, I still get surprised, at learning different things from people. And it comes from the everyday person like you, that give these, it might sound weird, and then you'll tell me something and it kind of jives with what's happening in my life or the projects I'm associated with. And it expands the knowledge. It really does. And I can always use it as examples to share in my other workshops and so on. So again, thanks a lot for the questions. I really appreciate it. It's always nice to get new material for videos. And like I said, if you want to do tithing, PayPal at Shaman Hawk. Catch you guys later.